For decades India has been working on what is called the second strike capability, the ability to respond to a nuclear attack. The reason India has been working so hard on Navy these days is partly to have a credible second strike. Given the extent of India's geography and extent of Pakistan's capabilities, only a fraction of Indian territory would be damaged by the first strike. Pakistan doesn't have aircraft carriers or nuclear submarines to launch a strong attack on India and has to purely rely on long-range missiles, which are fairly inaccurate. Unless Delhi is destroyed, India's response would have a very swift response. If Delhi is destroyed with no warning, Army has to work on new protocol on the go for taking control. India's response would be expectedly brutal. Almost all of Pakistan is easily accessible to Indian bombers. Most of population live within 100 miles of Indian border. This makes things asymmetric. India's biggest population centers are away from the border in contrast. India also has a variety of submarine-launched missiles like K-4 that would start firing from near Karachi. India inches closer to credible nuclear triad with K-4 SLBM test. If Pakistan is proven to be the striker, neither US nor China would come to its help, and Indian Navy's nuclear carriers would have field day launching bombers from the Pakistan's south, while the Air Force would come from the north backing the Army's move from east. Besides second strike, India is also working to avoid this in the first place. Indian Ballistic Missile Defense Program. Since missiles are the only credible vehicles for Pakistani nuclear weapons, India has been working on a BMD for a very long time. Intelligence: a nuclear attack on India is not good for US or any other power. US as a major weapons provider to Pakistan has a fairly tight control on the data, and it is very hard to evade CIA, RNAW, and Mossad if you have to assemble a large-scale nuclear deployment. They might be able to slip 1 or 2 nuclear weapons, but if they are trying to attack India they would have to move dozens of nuclear bombs, and that would be noticed. In alternate condition, what will happen? By the time Pakistan starts prepping its nukes, everywhere from New Delhi to Washington will know, and there will be incredible pressure and even threat of a preemptive non-nuclear disabling attack. If the Pakistanis keep going on their path despite all the warnings, India, Russia, Iran, US, even China would intervene militarily with preemptive conventional strikes using missiles, alternate weapons, and special operations teams. If beyond all this incredible opposition, the Pakistanis do manage to launch a nuke against India, by the time the nuke enters the trajectory and starts the ballistic approach, India would have launched a full-scale retaliation against Pakistan as per Indian nuclear doctrine, which is simply put, no first use of nuclear weapons. Any nuclear attack, no matter its magnitude, will be met with full retaliation. Then there would be a mad scramble to disable all Pakistani nukes which are in flight. Our new anti-ballistic defense systems are tested but never used in a real nuclear situation, thankfully for everyone. This would be while US and others would be trying to pressure India as well to stop any retaliation against Pakistan despite them nuking us. It would fall on deaf ears though. Since any government that refuses to retaliate against a nuclear strike on its civilians would be overthrown and reviled for centuries by the people. End result: the entire conflict lasts at most 6 hours, with Pakistan becoming a desolate wasteland while India is more or less intact due to larger area/population. Worst case scenario: most of their missiles are launched and they get through the defensive shield, leading to loss of up to 700 million people. There is a massive loss of life like never seen before in history, easily over 200 million, since Pakistan has about 180 million people and India would lose at least 1 or 2 cities to the nearly 200 Pakistani nukes, with catastrophic ecological damage, radioactive fallout, world weather pattern changes due to all the particulates launched into the air, partial world winter might happen, decrease in sunlight and in air quality, and worse, not to mention the people would be suffering ill effects from all of these: radiation poisoning/burns/ etc., genetic disorders, reproductive disorders/ babies born with genetic defects, rise in harmful mutations, etc. India's economy would take a massive hit due to the loss of life and habitable land and potential political scapegoating that we would be subjected to, while we would need to reorganize the government, the people, the economy, and the military while trying to get aid for rebuilding. Then we would have to find a way to terraform all the affected lands back to normal, which will take who knows how long. Though on the extremely minor positive side, there would be no more Pakistani-based terrorism in the world, and India would acquire that irradiated territory, which would provide direct access between South, Southeast, Central, and East Asia, not to mention to Russia and Europe too, which could alleviate our power supply problems. Though at that point, what would it matter? This is why I hope no country ever uses a WMD again. The results and the potential cascade scenarios. The Indo-Pak nuclear exchange goes global, similar to how WWI escalated, and the current human civilization, with most of our population, our fellow tenants, flora and fauna, and our poor Mother Earth would be dead. Armageddon/Ragnarok over. The survivors might survive, rebuild, and a few thousand years later, when excavating our remains, we'll discuss on how stupid we were.